Hello and welcome to the weekly outlook in the DeFi Dojo. I am Groot, and this is the first weekly outlook I've done in a couple months, and I'm excited to get back into it. There's finally some things worth updating, and I think that I have some good news. I'm not going to say that I think the bottom is in, but I think we're getting really close to it. And for myself, I am going to start buying little bits here and there. I have purchased ETH. I purchased at 1650 and as well as 1580 last week. That is the first crypto I have held in about a year. So I sold it in June, July last year, somewhere around here. And if you look at Bitcoin, that would have been this marker here was where I sold. And I said, I think we're getting close to a top. I'm starting to see bearish divergence forming, which is this entire downtrend on the RSI, even though the price is increasing. And that's the same way I found the top on the last cycle before that. You could easily see this was increasing and this was declining. And that's just showing you that the momentum in the market is depleting, even though price is telling you otherwise. And so when you can spot those divergences, it gives me good confidence that I'm seeing a top. And as well as the bottom, when we nailed that, we had the price decreasing, yet the RSI was in an uptrend. So it's showing you momentum is getting stronger, even though the price is falling. So where are we now, right? So if you go look at total crypto market cap, there is this channel on its entire history, right? And you can see this is the top of the channel, and usually you want a parallel line to show you the bottom of the channel. So I tried to find a parallel bottom line, and I basically just, linked to that point with this point here, and I'm getting a touch right now. And I'm also seeing the week open with a slight reaction from that spot, right? Now, obviously, the bear market ending would need to break this trend line, which it did, and then it failed again, right? So now we got to kind of push that up a little bit. And that is now the trend line we need to break in order to say, hey, I think this bear market's over. But if you know me, I like to nail bottoms and nail tops as much as I possibly can because it decreases my risk and increases my reward. Now, if we were to get some candles in the next couple weeks that close below this line, then obviously that thesis is dead. But I figured, hey, why not take a shot here? If it falls below, then maybe I risk off a little bit. But in my opinion, Ethereum and Bitcoin are kind of like the safest plays for crypto. I'm a little more risky right now because I've been able to stay out of the crypto market for a year and I haven't experienced any of this downside. So I feel fortunate that if I do experience a little downside from here, I'm likely still doing better than anybody who's held through all of this, right? So that's kind of the way that I justify that in my mind. Does that necessarily make sense? Probably not, but for me, it does. So when I look at Ethereum, there's a multi-year trend line here, and we're going back to, almost 2018 prices here. And Ethereum's been in this giant consolidation range for since it started here. Let's going on 5 years now, over 5 years. So if Ethereum is going to be something in the future, and there's a lot of talk about it, potentially being where all digital assets are held and stock market stocks going digital and be getting on the blockchain. We're already starting to see that happening in some extent. And so if that is the case and Ethereum ends up becoming this, you know, digital exchange for trillions of dollars in assets worldwide, then this should be an amazing opportunity, right? Now, of course, there's the bear case. Let's say another layer one takes it, maybe Solana, any number of other layer ones, right? Could possibly be that instead. And then if that's the case, then maybe Ethereum dies and Solana really is the Ethereum killer. Can't really say, I can't read the future, but what I can do is take shots at multi-year trend line supports. And so that is another reason why I bought here. If this fails, then we risk coming all the way back down to $1,000 again. If that happens, I'll likely cut my ETH if we break 1400 or close a weekly candle below 1400. 1380 is kind of like my last stop. I do kind of want to buy some more there if we do get down to that level, but I am starting to see slight bullish divergence here on the total chart, right? So obviously this needs to bottom here and shoot back up in order to confirm that this RSI is in fact rising, right? If we have a crappy week this week and we go lower and this RSI ends up getting all the way down here below the low here, then that's no longer bullishly divergent and I'm wrong. So I'm not saying that I can call it yet. What I need to see is support here, break the downtrend, and then I can say that's bullish divergence. Then I can say that's probably a bottom. Sometimes it'll do this and go make a lower low and wick, right, and then come back up. But if I see that, then I know I'm really close. So that's why I'm taking a shot here. Do I want Bitcoin? I probably do, but I think Bitcoin can still underperform Ethereum from here. Right now, it broke below this neckline, and obviously, if it reclaims it, cool. I'll maybe take a shot and grab some Bitcoin, but I still think that this could come down to 56.7 at bare minimum. And if that does happen, you got this like giant head and shoulders pattern, and so that doesn't look great either, right? And so at that point, it would probably come down here. I'd still love to nab Bitcoin way down here. And so I don't think that we're starting a bull market right now. So don't take this the wrong way. I think that this is just showing the first signs, like I said, that things could be starting to get near a bottom. It still could be 6 months of sideways from here, right? Things don't typically go in V-shaped recoveries for crypto. We've seen it in the stock market. Maybe it happens for Bitcoin now that it's more accepted and institutionalized now. So maybe we do get a V-shaped recovery on Bitcoin at some point. I can't say when, but you know, it'll probably look something like this. And this, like for example, the bear market here, once it finally got near a bottom, it took 266 days to consolidate here before it started making that uptrend. And so we might be 126 days into a 266 to 1 year total consolidation period down here, and this could just kind of chop sideways for a really long time before it finally heads up. I still think Bitcoin's going lower. I think because Ethereum underperformed so much, that maybe it could outperform now, right? It would be just the way that markets work, right? Like nobody thinks Ethereum is going to outperform Bitcoin probably ever again, right? But usually that's when it happens. Usually that's when they surprise you with it, right? So I can't say for sure that that's going to happen. I do think that Ethereum will outperform Bitcoin again at some point in the future, either sooner than later. But you can see that we're already bouncing to start this week off of this orange line. And so that just justifies my position so far. Obviously, anything can happen. We don't even have market open in equities yet. Now, let's go over to equities. Here is ES. This is the S&P 500. We had a nice bearish weekly candle last week. It's definitely bearish engulfing. After 9 consecutive green weeks, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, right? Finally got a red week. But it just brought us back down to the weekly 8 EMA. First time we've seen that since this crossed bullish all the way back in April, right? So I did expect a pop from here just because that's the first time we've touched it. But this is a major spot here, this 1.618. So we could get a bounce all the way back to it just to say, hey, let's retest it. Make sure we're supposed to stay underneath this thing. And then if it rejects, then I can probably say we might have reached at least a local top on this and it needs some further consolidation or even maybe a bear market. I don't know. I'm not going to try to call that anymore because I was looking stupid last time I tried to do that. I thought this was the start of the bear market, and yeah, obviously that wasn't the case. I think that the major support we could see again for the S&P is these two areas down here. You got the main 1.618 here at 71.69 and in this main 2.272. Those are two major spots for the S&P, and if I zoom out, I'll show you how I got those. I know there's a lot of lines here. So this 1.618 right here is from the April tariff scare in 2025 last year. This 2.272 here goes all the way back to the 22 bear market. So I just measured that downtrend, and that gets me that 2.272 right there. And those kind of line up really close to each other. And so that should provide us a solid area of support. And then what I'm going to be looking for is, does that support hold? If this 7,200, 71 to 7,200 area fails, then that would be the indicator to me that the bear market has started. And then we'll start measuring to see how far down we can go. Until then, I don't really want to try to short this. I might try to long scalp it back to the 1.618 this week if it can stay relatively low before open. But other than that, I'm still pretty risk off in equities. I've been buying things that I think are undervalued, posting those in the long term investments channel for you guys to see what I'm doing. But really, equities is so hot that it's hard to jump in, right? Like all the memory stocks are just insane. I don't even own any of them. I can't tell you that I bought SanDisk, or Western Digital. I had those were not even on my radar. So do I feel like I missed out? Yeah, a little bit, but it's okay. The long term portfolio is doing great. Can't complain about any of those. So looking at the Nasdaq, it's a little cleaner. We have the 2.272 from the 22 bear market, right? And this is a major spot. This is like the major fib. Other other than the 1.618, the 2.272 will 95% of the time reject, at least the first time it touches it. You can see what happened when we hit the 1.618. We went into weeks of consolidation, couldn't break it, and then that's what created the 25 April tariff scare. People say it's because of tariffs. I say it's because we hit the 1.618 and charts don't lie. So I'm going to go with the same thing here. We might not have seen whatever this news issue is going to be yet, but I'm telling you now that if there is one, it's just the excuse that the market needs to reject from this major fib level. So until we can cross 30,467 on the NASDAQ, to me, this is likely going to come back down. Now we do have the 8 EMA support, just like S&P, which is confirming now, but we'll see what happens. And if we can close under it at some point in time, it might want to come back up and retest this again, because that's what tops will do. They'll stay up really high for a while and just chop. Meanwhile, bottoms tend to do these V-shaped recoveries when it comes to the indexes. If we look at the dollar, we've been in this year-long consolidation down here on what I've been calling the 18-year trend line for a year now. And if I zoom out, you'll see this trend line started back in 2008, which was the bottom of the 2008 housing market crisis. And since then, we've been in this uptrend on the dollar. So yeah, inflation sucks. Yeah, everything's expensive. We keep printing more money. But over the last 18 years, the dollar's going in an upward direction still. So as this goes higher, if this has like a volatile move to the upside, usually that's not good for risk assets. So tech will probably sell off, crypto will probably sell off. So we'll see what happens, but I'm watching this $100 level on DXY. If we do break over that level, then we can easily see 102 fairly quickly. You can see how quickly price moves above that line. And so once that happens, once it makes that break, it typically gives us these big moves on the dollar. But if it just rejects it again and wants to come back down here, then we can see everything continue to go up as it's been doing. So I'm going to be watching this pretty closely, because I think this is our biggest indicator of what we might be able to expect. Underneath $100, we might be able to be risky and buy stuff. Above $100, then it might be time to sell your risk assets and just wait and maybe try to short scalp stuff. Looking at Bitcoin against the NASDAQ, this was a fun chart. So this is the golden pocket, right? And another reason why I decided to buy a little bit of ETH. I know it's Bitcoin, but crypto follows Bitcoin, and ETH is a crypto. So we dipped into the golden pocket, and the golden pocket is the area where people say, wow, that's really cheap, right? And you can see that reaction's already started to happen. I don't know why TradingView messes up these candles sometimes, but like this did not open down here. It opened where this candle closed, and they'll probably fix it tomorrow. You'll see this candle stayed above that 618. So I think we could see at least a bounce from here for crypto against the NASDAQ, meaning I think the NASDAQ could come down while Bitcoin goes up, which would be a really refreshing change to see, because we haven't seen that in a while. And right now, it looks like, let's see, what do we got going on as far as today? Yeah, so this wasn't down here yesterday. TradingView is not, it's not great sometimes when new weekly candles open. So just don't, there's no reason why a weekly candle should open way lower than where it closed. There's like a second difference between this closing and this opening. So it should be up here. USDT. We closed above the greed FOMO zone. That's not good, right? So here's the bear case, right? We likely will go see new all-time highs on USDT dominance. That's bad for crypto. When this chart goes up, crypto goes down. Now, it's predominantly Bitcoin. If we go to Bitcoin dominance, it's at like 58%, right? So if Bitcoin goes down and Ethereum and a couple other alts go up, this is still going to go up, right? Ethereum will move it a little bit, but not nearly as much as Bitcoin does. So I'm not so hot on Bitcoin right now. I like the value of Ethereum at the moment. Do I think it can go lower? Sure, I do. I think that's all I have to cover. If anybody has any questions, Heart, I'll do the first two. Can you put the other, can you just give me one, like pick one stock, one crypto, and then whatever ones I don't cover, put in the chart request chat and I'll get to them. That way other people have a chance to ask for some chart requests too. So if you want, I'll pick, let's look at Vive. I don't have that one here. I did trade this a long time ago. So that's still bearish. It got a 21 EMA test. Okay, so I think you would probably just want to draw some support lines over here and just see if we can hold these levels. Because if these fail, then that's like right there. So right now, you want to see it hold that spot right there. So let's call it 170. As long as 170 and the weekly 8 EMA hold, this could start turning around, but it's probably going to take a little while. And you want to see it hold that 8 EMA. If it falls below that 8 EMA again, then you can potentially come way back down to 150. And if we draw some fibs, that's a big move. I remember when this was moving really big too. It's been consolidating for years now. All right, so there's another spot. 175 is a big area you want to hold. And it's done this where it's dipped down below it before and recovered. So you're at a support right now that it tried to reclaim, and it's kind of hard to tell whether or not it said, okay, I'm reclaiming it, or if I'm just going to stay down here again. Well, if 175 holds, if it gets back up over it, that would be a good indication that it's turning around. If we do like a trend line, let's see here. So you want it to hold that too. So you can draw numerous things here and make sure that it's going to stay. So it broke the trend, right? And so it might want to come back for a retest before it pops back up. So my riskiest stop loss would be if it broke down and closed a weekly candle back below this trend line, because then it would show like, hey, I'm not accepting breaking that trend line. It's kind of what Bitcoin did here, right? Like broke the trend line, came up, came for the retest, and then just dove right below it again. That's usually a bearish move, and it usually goes lower. So I hope that helps a little bit. I do think it's a good fundamental stock to hold long term. Let's see what they got. Yeah, I mean, this is the analysts are calling this a bottom. But I've seen stocks go well below their forecasted minimums too, so that doesn't mean anything. But it's, one of those other things I look at for a little reassurance sometimes. So I do think it's good long term. It's just got to get out of this 6-year accumulation zone. Let's go with syrup. I hear crypto names like this. I don't know what they do, but I typically just want to avoid them. No idea which one to use here. I guess we'll go with that one. It's not a whole lot. Is it? I don't know what that is. It's gonna be tough to find. I don't know what this is, but it's weird. Is this some sort of like staking reward you get and it tries to stay around $1, or I don't know. I'm gonna move on to Aave. No, I don't want Dex. Maybe that's why it wasn't giving me a good chart. All right, I'll try again. Ugh. I do actually still have some of this in a wallet somewhere. This might be the only crypto I hold besides ETH. All right, so like basically we want to make sure this doesn't fall below $52. If this falls below $52, that's a really bad sign. But we're at, you know, this zone here, which probably has a lot of volume around it. Yeah, so this is kind of like the accumulation zone. So if it wants to try to do that again, that'd be cool. But I would want to see it get back over 90 to be happy with my purchase, and that's a long way away. So we could see as low as 52. If it falls below that, that's really bad, and we likely go make new lows. So that 52 mark is pretty important. You can see that's where the volume drops off significantly. So if that breaks, then this can like go like pretty quickly. Marvel, man, I kick myself for this one. I bought this stock at like $30 5 years ago, and I let it go. Man, I don't get them all. I don't catch them all. It's only at 230 billion. I mean, there's no point in drawing this. It's already above it. So basically that's where it's supposed to be, and that's where it is now. Let's see what, I guess I would go with this one. Come on. All right, there's a 2.272 up there. So if this wants to keep going, it needs to break that 302 area, and then it could possibly see 537 if this wants to continue being insane. And it's not really even that insane when you compare this to like SanDisk. So it's definitely possible. If you got in this down here, it's potentially a forever hold, right? Like usually what I like to do is sell whatever it is that I purchased with to get my money back out of it, and then keep shares for life. If you were able to purchase down here, you could sell 75% of your shares, make a crap ton of money, and have 25% of those shares free for life and with massive profits, right? So those are the kinds of things I like to do, then take that capital and go move it into something that I think is undervalued. But yeah, congratulations if you've been holding that for a long period of time. I think I sold it when it hit like somewhere around here. Like I thought we were going to double top. Can't even remember. It was a long time ago. Yeah, that could absolutely keep going to the 530 areas if this can break 300. I wouldn't be surprised to see like, you know, a massive move back down to retest here and then bounce up there and do that. That's totally possible. These are really volatile stocks right now. I don't even want to try to pretend like I know what's going to happen with these until I start seeing some structure up near a top. Right now it's just up, straight up. Same thing, like I can't call it if we're just going straight down unless we're hitting like a golden pocket or something. So those are tough. SanDisk. All right, let's go take a look. Let's look at the difference here. I know that's in here somewhere. There it is. Yeah, it's insane. I tried charting it, didn't work. So basically, I don't really want to touch it myself personally because I'm not in it, and I don't want to buy something that's gone up 4,000% in such a short period of time. But when it breaks this trend line, I might start thinking about like short scalping it here and there. But Yeah, it's just bullish, and there's really no fibs you can draw on this because there's never been a downtrend. So I don't have anything to measure. I can measure this, but it's not going to do me any good because it's already beyond every fib there is. So I don't have the means to chart this other than with a trend line. And when it breaks the trend line, then it's likely topped and it's probably going to go back down for some period of time, at which point then I can measure from here to wherever that top is, right? So maybe it's 22.19 and that's why it rejected the 236 here and the 0.5 here. That's the only kind of thing I can speculate on. So I'm sorry I can't give you more than that on that one. Missed the ETH part, I think. Keen to see SE for equities. Yeah, so basically ETH is I think at a good value here, and I'm looking at multi-year trendline lows, and I'm also seeing a triangle that potentially could be here, but ultimately is probably here at this yellow line. But whenever it gets down into this area, it seems to find buyers against Bitcoin. So you can see here it was resistance. Here it got bought up. Here it got bought up. And now we're kind of starting to approach that zone again. So total crypto market cap showing me potential divergence. Got to confirm it still. So those are my theories. There'll be a very detailed write-up in the Weekly Outlook channel after this video. All right. So any other chart requests, questions? What do you guys think? Like, am I crazy? Because I could be wrong. I don't know. I don't claim to be the knower of all knowing, but I just kind of listen to the charts. Nice to see some bullish divergence. Yeah, it is. I mean, potential. It's not actually there yet, but it's nice to see it's kind of starting, right? Like it's definitely not lower right now than that low, so it's already showing a little bit of a discrepancy there. Pendle, yeah, let's go look at Pendle. I usually just go with Binance. There we go. I've charted this before. Okay, so it found support in the golden pocket. I charted this at some point. Not sure what it looked like then, but that's a place where people say, "Hey, that's cheap," and then look at the move from there. Obviously, it has fallen back down below, and what you want to see is a bullish cross on those EMAs, not like an overextension and a failure to where it curls them back over and they stay bearish. So I think this could be looking for that 786 area, and that if this is going to be something that exists in the future cycles, that might not be a bad place to try to snag it. So, aiming for 84 or 85 cents might be a good spot. Looks like that's kind of where it started when it began its journey. Anyway, so crypto will return from whence it came, more likely than not, on the alts. Ondo, let's see. It's kind of doing the same thing. It's holding it a little better than Pendle, though. Yeah, I mean, so right now the EMA is at 34,798, right? So let's just call that 35 cents. Obviously, it's a little lower, but that has to hold this week. If you see a candle close below that 8 EMA again, then this is likely going to head lower, and it's failing that 35-cent mark. You want to see a candle close back above that. Last week it didn't. Previous weeks it did. So that's showing it could be rolling these EMAs over the wrong way. Probably not the way you want to see. So let that 8 EMA be your cutoff if you're trying to bottom fish here. I mean, one day it'll get back to that trend line probably, but the problem is like, how does it get there, right? Does it bounce and go there from here, or does it just go sideways until it touches it and then fall down, right? So that's the risk with those. A lot of people are like, oh, look at all the room to the trend line. And the question is the path that it takes to actually go touch it, right? Caspa, oh man, I haven't heard that in a long time. Let's look. Yeah, it did what I thought it would. That's a massive Wyckoff distribution. Several attempts at making new highs failed. These are all lower highs. Broke the bearish pennant, came lower. So that could come all the way back down to 2 cents. And hopefully not any lower than that, because then it falls another 50%. So it's definitely bearish. You can draw several lines here, but we'll try this recent local one. Yeah, it's still holding under it. Oh, wait, we're not all the way down, are we? Okay, I mean, there's something to be said about that. It happens a lot in crypto, though, where it'll break a trend line and fail. That's what crypto likes to do, because it really sucks in retail. You know, retail will draw the trend line. Oh, it broke the trend line, let's buy, and then it'll just go back underneath, because that's what they do. So I'd be careful. It's definitely bearish. I can't see it not hitting that 382. Honestly, it's kind of hanging on for dear life on this support here, and price moves very quickly from here to here. Just looking at these candles, like if we threw the volume profile on, I bet you there's a gap right there. Do I get a volume profile? Yeah. Yeah, so there's a gap right here. So I wouldn't be a buyer until 0.027 and 2 cents if I really liked Caspa and wanted to try to bottom fish. As a technical trader, I'm not buying it at all. So it kind of just depends on like what kind of person you are. SoFi. Okay. I hate when it does that. Golden bucket sell off. All right, it's got to use this as support. 1540 is kind of like, this is the cutoff. If that fails, we're going back down to 1369. And let's see what that looks like. Yeah, I mean, we're close. It's close to breaking this neckline. It doesn't really look like it, but it's a head and shoulders. It's just its right shoulder's really weak. It doesn't even want to try to like make one. So maybe it still will, but it's definitely bearish. We closed back below the 8 EMA last week, and if it breaks this, then I'd be inclined to try to short it or buy a put. And we would have to measure from here to here. Oh, there you go. There's another line you can use. So that $15 mark is important. $14.99. Close the weekly candle below that. It's short to 11.78. So I'm actually going to put an alert on that because I like that setup if it does. And create. Okay. If my trend line gets touched, it's going to alert me and I'll go take a look. And I might buy puts on that if it breaks down below. If you're a bull, obviously you want to buy here and try to take it back up, and that's your cutoff spot. So you got the low risk this way, or you got the low risk if it comes down. Coin. I don't like it. Got an alert on that line. It hasn't given it to me yet. So that's where I wanted to buy it last time, and it never touched it. Got real close. So that's why I didn't get that alert. So that's where I would consider trying. But really, I think I made that alert just for like trying a long scalp. And right now that looks bad. That looks like a distribution. It barely made new all-time highs and then said no. Broke the uptrend. Now let's see where we are here. Broke the 382. So the trend's definitely broken. Yeah, I don't like it. I think that's probably going to go lower. I think that's probably coming back down to this 0.5 at some point. Lemonade. If you have your mic on, could you please mute yourself? That also looks like the trend broke. There's going to be two trends. One's like right there. The other one's like here. And this is the one that broke for sure. So that looks short down to the second line. I call that the white one, the red one. And then measure the fibs and see if that lines up. Not amazingly. This probably needs to get touched on here. All right, so that trend line tells me we can head down to the 0.5. This trend line tells me we're likely at least coming down to the 382. That's a shoulder, head, shoulder. Your neckline is here. So $48 is very likely at some point. And then if that doesn't hold, it's probably going to move very quickly to 42, 41, 42, because the space right here is pretty open. The volume profile's probably got a hole here, and it does. A big hole right here. So that 48 level needs to hold. And if it doesn't, it's short down to 41 to 42. Definitely bearish on the EMAs all around. All right. And if I didn't get to your chart request, I'm glad to see all of the activity in here. I was actually thinking this was not going to be a very active live stream because it's been so long since I have done one, and I'm encouraged. So thank you all for showing up. And if I did not get to your chart request, please drop it in the chart requests channel, and I will get to it as soon as I can. Thank you all for being here, and let's see what crypto can do. Have a good one.